and their speakers. Today we are entering into the second day of our national webinar on entrepreneurship in dairy processing, aspiring skill of present century. So first of all, I should thanks to our administration to help to organize this national webinar. And on behalf of GADVASU administration, we also thanks to our speakers. Today, two eminent speakers are with us. First speaker, Mr. Sunil Meka. He is going to deliver lecture in starting a dairy enterprise, a model of cheese startup. Just I am giving brief introduction about Mr. Sunil Meka. He is the co-founder, and so I think he is having a very vast experience in the NGOs, and he has planned to start the dairy business, to keeping in view of that service to the nation and also service to the dairy industry. He started his Ladakh cheese farm in the year 2017. The main aim was to bring the European quality handmade artisan cheese to the high Himalayan regions of Ladakh. Because you know about that Ladakh is known for the foreigners and visits as it's a tourism place. And keeping in view of to satisfy the needs of the European people and also the Indian people also, they have started the cheese business, particularly with cheddar, gouda, mozzarella cheese, and they have started preparing this type of cheeses along with the herbs from the mountains. So you know the herbs, so it's a very health benefits also there from the Himalayan regions. So and apart from that, actually he has started the business in dairy business, also preparing the product, cultured herbs, butter, yogurt. So also he has started preparing, and he is running the business very successfully. He's a role model for the so many people, and he will explain about his involvement, how he started the business, and he will tell elaborately during the lecture. So next on another one, Dr. Saravana Gowda Patil, and he is going to deliver the lecture, Fermented Full Milks, an untapped market of historical food with modern application. Dr. Saravana Gowda Patil, presently working as a professor in LUAS, Lala Lajpat Rai Animal Science University. He is working as a professor in College of Dairy Science and Technology. He has completed BSc Dairy Science, MSc Dairy Science from Bangalore Dairy Science College. He has completed PhD Dairy Science from Bidar Dairy Science College. So he is having the more than 20 years experience in both industry as well as academic. So he worked as a manager dairy in different industries in the abroad also. He worked in the different yogurt, cheese manufacturing unit, egg powder plant and bakery industry, and he worked in Almarai and other abroad companies also. After from academic, he entered into the academic, from the industry to academic. He is having more than around 15 publications in the reputed journal of national and international. Apart from that, he has handled 5 extramural research projects with variation in various capacities with respect to the dairy and allied sectors. He has conducted so many training programs, more than 30 training programs he has conducted for the benefit of the farmers to start the milk business. So apart from that, his main area of interest is fermented dairy product, specialization to the spray drying and also value added traditional dairy product. So today, so he will deliver the lecture also, and we are having the 2 interactions, both academic persons also with us, industry people also with us. So you can have the look about their views and you can gain the knowledge for benefit of your career. So first of all, I am welcoming Mr. Sunil. Please take care your lectures.
All right. All right. I can start, right? All right. Good morning, everyone. Firstly, thanks to GADVASU University for hosting me. I'll share as much information I have, and hopefully you'll be able to learn something from the experiences I've had in setting up this enterprise in Ladakh. As Sir just mentioned, I'm Sunil Meka. I'm a co-founder and cheesemaker at Ladakh Cheese Farm. We set it up in 2017 to make European quality cheese in India. Cheese market is a budding field in India, especially artisan cheese, and we wanted to bring some really good quality cheese for people who are looking for this, and people who buy imported cheeses. We wanted to give them an alternative. Let me just put up a small slide that I so I hope you guys can see the slide. All right, so so that's my logo. A friend designed it, and it's something I really like. So why a creamery? This is something people ask me a lot, apart from the question, why Ladakh? Ladakh, because I love the place. I call it home, and I wanted to live there and set up a business there. And while looking at various sectors, I like working with my hands, and agricultural / dairy sector is something that I was really interested in. So looking at the entire prospect of Ladakh hosting almost 3 lakh people yearly, and apart from the tourists, there is also a local population of about 70,000-80,000 that live in the city. There is a lack of locally sourced dairy products apart from dahi, which a few dairy startups make there. So we wanted to, all the butter or the yogurt that people buy comes all the way from Delhi or elsewhere from in India. So we wanted to make something local that people can take pride in and enjoy, using locally sourced materials and making it in a very ethical manner. And so this is where we initially, how we started with cheese. Slowly we realized there's also a market for cultured butter and Greek yogurts, including plain yogurts and flavored yogurts with local flavors. Ladakh is famous for its organic apricots, apples, and sea buckthorns. So we inculcated those into our products and try to increase our portfolio, our product range. And our like it says, our first idea came up in 2016 when we were having a conversation with a friend who has become my business partner now. So a little bit about Ladakh Cheese Farm. It's 25 kilometers away from Leh, which is like the center of Ladakh. It's the biggest town of Ladakh. 45,000 square feet at an altitude of 10,800 feet above sea level. So it's one of the highest cheese manufacturing units in the world. But that comes with its own challenges. Sustainability, ecological sustainability, and fair trade was at the core of what we wanted to build, because Ladakh is a very ecologically sensitive zone. So we didn't want to put any impact on the already sensitive ecosystems there. So what we set up to do was ground up. We took a plain land and we started building ground up, completely off grid. So our entire farm is run 100% on renewable energy. We use solar panels. We have a 4 kilowatt solar system. And apart from that, all wastewater is managed in ways like, there is zero waste in terms of water or other materials we use to make cheese. Everything is designed in such a way that even in the harsh winters, our living quarters and the cheese making space stay above 12 degrees centigrade, even when it's minus 20, with zero fuel burn. So we use solar passive designs and other architectural models to build this. The reason I'm explaining this is also a pillar on which we wanted our business to stand. It is our USP, unique selling point, that our cheese is made with the least carbon footprint, probably in India. And our sources of our milk is also from the local villages, and it's ethically sourced. So we don't take it from large dairy farms. We take it from households, Ladakhi household who have like 1 or 2 cows, 1 or 2 liters or 3 liters of milk. And once the entire collection is made, it comes down to about 200 liters. We initially started with the capacity of 80 liters per day, processing capacity, but we have grown to 200 liters, but hopefully we'll be able to take it to 500 liters in next year. Next, I'll just show you a video of where we are located, so you get an idea of where this farm is. So you see, let me just, yeah. So wherever, this is the farm space, the 1 acre farm space that we have. It may look like it's in the middle of nowhere, but the road, the Leh-Manali highway, is about 300 meters right in front of us. This is the Indus River, and because Ladakh is a cold desert, everything happens around the river. So all the live households, all the farms are around the river. Here, the reason we took it here is plainly because it was cheap, and the view from that area is just amazing. The only difficulty was water, so we just dug a borewell there, which was an additional expense. But in the long run, we realized that having a space for ourselves and being able to design it was more important. So that's where our farm's at. Our farm has residences for all of the inhabitants. It has the creamery where we make the products. It also has a organic garden. It has DIY workspaces for people who come and work with wood or pottery or other materials. It also will host volunteers and farm stay concepts from next year onwards. So we're trying to build a community space around cheese itself. That gives us an additional source of income and also creates a diverse business model in which the creamery is at the center of different sectors of business we want to do, be it hospitality, be it alternative educational setup, or organic farming. So this is how much I made. So I'll go ahead and yeah, sorry. So I'll start off with how I started this journey. After deciding that this is what I wanted to do and this is where I wanted to the place, the first thing I did was study about cheese. I'm a good quick learner, which is very important when it comes to being an entrepreneur in fields as difficult as these in the modern Indian setup. So the first thing I did was study about cheese, study everything about it, the mechanics of it, the microbiology, the chemistry. And that took me a good 3 months to completely understand cheese and the process of making it. But it's not enough to have book knowledge. So in the meantime, I started writing to various cheesemakers across the world, but mostly in India and surrounding areas, who could train me to make cheese at their cheese making facility. And a good friend in Nepal, Himalayan French cheese, he accepted my request, and I went to Nepal to train under him for 3 months. While I was there, I learned how to make various types of cheeses, starting from And it is an artisan cheese business, his business as well. So everything from like hard cheeses, French, Italian, soft, mozzarellas, pasta filata cheeses. So I got it already because I had gathered as much book knowledge that I could. The next step was this process, and it helped me put my text knowledge into practice and get the feel of cheese in my hands and see the textures, understanding the intricacies of cheese making, like because artisan cheese making is not like industrial cheese making. uh, our flavors vary from the milk quality. We don't use any emulsifiers, we don't use additives. It's just milk, bacteria, coagulant, and salt. That's it. And time, obviously. So it's very important to understand the characteristics of milk and how it behaves in real time, and how cheese behaves in the aging cave. Uh, as you age, like in 2 weeks, and 4 weeks, and 3 weeks, in 2 months, which is why I stayed for 3 months, because it's a good period to understand how a cheese wheel develops its flavor and how the rind develops on top of the cheese. So the first thing as an entrepreneur that you need to do is the subject you're working on, be it curd, be it just milk, packaging of milk or cheese. You need to understand A to Z as much as possible. I know that you cannot learn everything before you start. It's always a learning process, but as much as you can, you need to get that information and practice from, like, either get trained or visit training facilities. So this happened in Jan of 2017, Jan to March of 2017. And I came back in May of 2017 to Ladakh, and we didn't go about to make a big facility and start off big, because Ladakh is not like any other place. Being at 10,800 feet, our air pressure is, low. Our air is thinner. The temperatures fluctuate really unpredictably, and the humidity is very, very low. So to test these, because these are very diverse and difficult atmosphere and conditions, we did a pilot project where we set up in a small 10 by 10 space with two old fridges, like the refrigerators we have. We converted it into a cheese cave using a few gadgets to control humidity and temperature. And the first cheese we made was something that could handle the harsh climate. So the first cheese we made was cheddar. We made cheddar because it takes a while to make, and it gives us a idea about how the various factors affected. So we made June, July, August of 2017. We processed about 80 liters of cheese on average every day. And we made cheese and we stored them in the refrigerators to age. And this was our pilot phase. One more thing you need to understand about Ladakh is, by October, the winters start, and winters are very harsh in Ladakh. Temperatures drop to almost minus 25. And this is not a place where you have grid electricity, so there's no heating. So work basically stops at this point, especially when you don't have a proper setup built for yourself. So 2017 was a brief trial phase, and throughout the winter we made sure that we took care of the cheese. We kept it at right temperatures, and we vacuum sealed it to maintain humidity. And next year, when the season starts again, when the 2018 March, April is when Ladakh opens up again. The temperatures slightly warm up and tourists start coming in. That is when we distributed the cheese. First, we sent samples for free. We almost lost about, I wouldn't say lose, but we had to spare 30 kgs of cheese at a market price of 45,000 just to send samples. because there are about 200 cafes in Ladakh. And it was important for us to get feedback more than anything else. So we sent samples to every cafe we knew, and then 2 or 3 days later, we took a feedback form to every single cafe to get a detailed feedback. If we could, we sat down with the chef, we sat down with the owner and asked them like what we can improve in terms of flavor, in terms of price. Like we told them, this is what we want to price it at. What are they buying? Where are they sourcing their present cheese from? And compared to that, how good is this? So that was a very crucial phase, because that's when we realized that, okay, we can do this in this conditions, and we can get good results with the cheese, and the cheese will be better than what they're buying from elsewhere. And in general, we got a really good feedback. Few of the chefs in the 3 and 4 star hotels in Ladakh started using our cheese to make really beautiful dishes, foaming the cheese. So it was very encouraging in the sense that these chefs who have been trained well abroad kind of appreciated that the cheese was good. It wasn't perfect. They did give us feedback, which we took very seriously. So 2018, the first few months, this happened. And then we set about making small batches. We reduced our working capacity, because this is when we started to shift to a larger area. This is when we started to realize that we need to move to a bigger space, and we need to build an entire facility for us, because Ladakh is not a place where households have running water, where households are built in a way that they can rent out spaces. There are no commercial spaces, especially we are 25 kilometers away from Leh. So we took up a land which was very cheap. It's my partner's brother's land. So we designed our farm around it, and we started constructing. Whatever income we got by selling the rest of the cheese, apart from the 30 kgs that we had sent as samples, apart from that, we put it in the farm. Whatever savings I had before that, I put it in the farm. We applied for loans, which got rejected the first year, but we went ahead. So this was done parallelly. Like I was taking care of the construction and then also making cheese every day in small batches. So I make some sort of an income for my survival for that year. And this multitasking is where this is one skill that entrepreneurs really need to learn. This ability to multitask and ability to compartmentalize different thought processes. Because on one side of my head, there is construction, there is material procurement, there is how to budget it, how to balance my, how I can't spend more than this much amount. And then on the other hand, we have, okay, tomorrow's milk processing. We need to make this much cheese. I need to take care of the cheese that I've put in the refrigerators. So all these, you need to be able to compartmentalize and get a clear head when you're dealing with so many factors, especially when you're an entrepreneur. If you have a job, it's a different thing. And there are no working hours the initial few years, I would say. My milk used to get delivered at 5 a.m. and I used to start processing the milk at 5 a.m. itself. The cheddar would take a lot of time to make. I had one more friend who worked with me. I used to work with the milk till 10 a.m. and then 10:30 after breakfast and freshening up, I used to go to the site, which was only a kilometer away, to oversee the construction. We didn't have contractors, we didn't have anything. We just had a plain architectural design and we had to be there to get it done. And I was there till 5 o'clock in the evening, and then come back and take care of the cheese till like 8 or 9 o'clock. And then, go to bed, wake up, and in between I have to cook for myself. I have to do the, laundry for myself, because all these facilities are not available. I live in a very remote village. Even though it's on the highway, Ladakh is a very different society altogether. And the pilot project is something that I want to talk a little bit more about, because This is where you'll encounter as many problems as everything that can go wrong will go wrong. It's called the Murphy's Law. Everything went wrong, from some days the milk not arriving, some days the milk getting broken because one or two people did not maintain the milk properly, but we had to pay for it. We didn't have fresh water source, so we had to run to a nearby borewell to get like in an Omni van. We used to put milk cans, and we used to get like 300 liters of water every 2-3 hours. So that was another challenge, but I'm glad we did it, because it gave us the experience to go ahead confidently with our bigger project. And also it taught us a lot about what to expect when we have our own space. And it's very interesting, because I read somewhere only those who carry a bucket of water for their use will understand the value of water. And that I truly understood then, because I was used to living in cities where you get flowing water, but there I had to preserve every drop of water. So pilot project feedback. So while planning the larger business, the first thing you need to realize is supply chain. Where are you getting your milk? How are you getting your milk? And what can I outsource? So I can go in the morning and collect milk, but that takes about 2 hours of my time away. And I have to start at 3 o'clock in the morning if I have to start cheese making at 5. Instead, I outsourced it to a local person who was happy to, take the job. He got the milk. He started collecting at 3 a.m. I used to get enough rest. By 5 a.m. when I woke up, the milk was at the farm site. I used to process the milk. And one more thing is the delivery of the cheese. The same thing happened. I can go deliver the cheese and think about saving money, but I outsource that as well, because it saves me time. So entrepreneurs need to know, how do you value your time? Like, when do you realize that your time is more valuable than the money you'll be saving? So you need to learn how to outsource certain things when you're running a business. And this is something I learned a little later, only after realizing that I'll be burning myself out if I took everything myself. And so outsourcing is very important. One more thing is, when you hire people to work for you, make sure that you hire them with full confidence. You interview them, you see their work ethic, and then you hire them. Because once you hire them, there is no micromanaging. Let's just say you have 3 or 4 people working for you, in one in cheese making, one in cheese maintenance, one in transportation. You cannot micromanage all these people. Once you give him the job, you need to rely on him to do the job correctly after a few days of training. Every day you can't keep checking on him whether he's done the job right. That is more headache for you. So when you hire people, make sure that you hire people properly. Hire people who have a good work ethic. Even though if they ask 2,000 or 3,000 more than other people do, if you think they're worth it, pay for it, because it makes life so much easier. And in business, again, compartmentalization is so important, as well as having a personal space to relax at the end of the day is very important, because if you don't do that, you'll burn out very quickly. That will give you a very good balance to be able to run this business clearly, with clarity of mind and with long-term goals in your mind. When a few friends ask me, like, I've never done talks like this, so excuse me if I'm slightly fluttering. Someone asked me, what are the qualities of an entrepreneur? And my first reaction was to be able to learn things quickly and to be a jack of all trades. Yes, I've set up a cheese making plant. Yes, I need to know everything about cheese that I possibly can. but I also need to know financing, a bit of financing. I also need to know a bit of web design and a bit of social media usage, because in the initial years you don't have the money to spend on social media, someone to take care of your social media, someone to take care of your other accounting and stuff like that. You have to do it all by yourself if you're starting small. So I had to learn Excel, I had to learn HTML to learn how to make websites. I had to learn how to make DIY cheese presses because the other cheese presses were way too difficult to procure and were expensive. I had to learn about properties of stainless steel so I could understand the pricing of it, and then I could get a good bargain out of people I was talking to. So all these tiny aspects of running a business, right? You have to research every single detail if you want to save money when you're investing, and that takes a lot of time. I'll give you an example. So for the bricks that we used for our cheese making space, we had to use cement bricks because a lot of water is used. I went to 7 to 8 different cement brick makers. It was not necessary, but by negotiating between those 7 to 8 brick makers, I saved about 30,000 rupees if I would have gone to the first brick maker. So 30,000 is a lot of money for someone who's investing only 10 lakhs or 15 lakhs as an initial capital to start a business. So you need to be very thrifty when it comes to investing and saving money in every aspect of running a business. If you think something is not essential and you can make a jugaad setting, initially you do it. You test it, you do it. If it doesn't work, you research more about it and you do it. For example, let me just share something called a cheese press with you. So this is called a Dutch press. It's basically a mechanical advantage setup which is used to press cheese, and you can vary the pressure on the cheese by varying the weight on the lever. I can buy these easily from Europe, and I have friends who come from Europe all the time. They can bring it. But what was easier for me to do was just study it for 2 days, understand the mechanics of it, and then go to the carpenter and get it made. And that probably saved me about 15,000 rupees. 15,000 rupees may not seem much in today's world, but for an entrepreneur, it's a lot of money. So this comes under budgeting and planning and being able to plan your project carefully, because even before you start anything, you start off with a set budget, and you make sure in your mind that there is no way you're going to exceed this budget, and you make sure that this is how you plan. Everything needs to be on paper. How much each brick costs, how much each cheese culture costs, how much rennet costs, how much is my running capital, how much is my investment, all details. So when you're working on site, you know where you need to cut down if something is going out of control. Because in running a business, this is the most important thing, especially in places like Ladakh, where resources are very hard to get. Everything that I needed had to come from Delhi. So that is something I would suggest to students who are planning on setting up any sort of business, but especially this, because these are usually started off on small scale and then not scaled up. These are not businesses, especially dairy industry. These are not businesses that put up 1 crore or 2 crore at a time. These start off small, and once you start off small, you grow your business with your profits you get. You reinvest and you diversify. like I was giving an example, we started cheese making, and when we realized that cheese was being sold well and our margins were good, we saw what else we can do. Because initially we didn't have the money to buy butter churners and buy yogurt incubators. So when we realized, okay, this is something that the market needs, then we bought small equipment, and then we made that, and there was better reply. The feedback was very good. So now we are thinking in terms of 2022, because this year we couldn't earn anything because COVID. It's been a tough year for everyone. So 2022, we are planning ice creams now. Locally sourced milk, A2 milk, the cream separated from the milk, low sugar, local fruits like apricots. So our entire business model is local. Like recently there was a trend, vocal for local. So our entire business model is what can we take from Ladakh and use it in our products and promote it. We don't want to like bring materials from outside. Again, we're also in our mind, one of the pillars for our business is ecological sustainability. So we don't want to like fly in, chocolate from outside. As little carbon footprint as possible, and then market it using the same. Be proud of this fact. If you have a unique selling point like we do, we make sure to tell our customers, listen, this cheese was made with as little carbon footprint as possible. The milk was sourced from ethically sourced from small households. The entire cheese making process, the cheese aging, everything was done through renewable energy. The waste water that came out of the cheese making plant was diverted into gardens and trees. So this becomes a unique selling point, and people are really interested in this because it's a unique model, and people appreciate that you're taking that extra step to inculcate something that is very vital to today's world, which is climate change, especially places like Ladakh, which are, extremely sensitive. So once we got this kind of a feedback, then we started to think, how can we supplement our income and increase our outreach to people? Our products is fine. Our word of mouth is good, but we wanted to make sure that people get familiar with cheese, especially Indians, because cheese is still a budding, like I said, it's still a upcoming sector, especially artisan cheese. So from 2021 or 22 onwards, we'll be hosting workshops where we take in 5 or 6 people at a time. We completely use like gear, and we take them into the cheese making space, and we show them. It's a 5 to 6 hour workshop where we show them how cheese is made. Then we host them there. We make dishes made out of the cheese we've made in local ingredients, and the veggies we get from our own garden. So it becomes an additional supplemental source, and it also increases our presence in this market, in this cheese market, which is artisan cheese market, which is still very small in India. So you need to learn or find out ways you can stand out of the crowd. And these are things we are doing to stand out of the crowd. These are things that we know we can provide, and it is unique because Ladakh gets so many tourists. And we are 25 kilometers away from Leh. We are in a very serene place. It's quiet. So these are things we can use. We are also planning to do farm stays where we build small, tiny houses, nothing fancy, home cooked food. But people can come stay there for like very cheap, 500 rupees a day with food included. They can volunteer with us, help us maintain our cheese, or work with us in learning. But it's also creating a community. Like I said, community around the cheese is something that we envision, and that is something we are trying really hard to achieve. 2020 has put a dent on it, but hopefully in 2 years' time, we'll be able to get there slowly and steadily. Because it's a completely empty space, we've put up trees, poplar trees, willow trees, apricot, apple, walnut, a few veggie gardens and stuff like this. So we want to create a holistic space for anyone who comes there to visit and be peaceful, and at the same time run a profitable business in a way that the cheese that we make becomes unique to the experience that we provide at Ladakh Cheese Farm. These are the things I wanted to briefly tell you. I would rather take a lot of questions, because that way it's easier for me to answer any doubts you might have. Looking at the notes I've made, people ask me, like, what is the most important thing you've learned? It is to expect the unexpected, like expect that something might go wrong and always be prepared, be on your toes to fix that. Because 2019 we had the Article 360 removed from J&K and Ladakh being made a UT, which put a lot of strain on tourism, the amount of people coming in. There we had to again, like, switch gears, diversify. That's when we realized, okay, we need to make butter now. We got in machinery quick from Delhi, because we couldn't let the income drop. Now this year, when this has happened, COVID has happened, we have not been able to find ways to work around it, because tourism is dead. But we've come up with ideas where we supplement that income next year with workshops, with getting, with hosting people for cheese-based lunch or dinner. So you need to always be able to, like, these are all examples I'm giving from my context, but in your business, whatever way you're setting up, you need to be able to come up with quick solutions. So your business, your stream of income does not go down, and you're confident that your business will survive. The first 3 to 4 years are very crucial. Once you set up your presence in the market and you become a reliable source, you can, it streamlines itself and it becomes organic. It goes with the flow, and it's very organic in the sense. So that is something I wanted to bring up. Something I tell a lot of people is Google is God. If you want to know anything, just Google it. If you want to learn how to do something, if you want to learn how to learn Excel, right? Google it. It'll take you like 2-3 days max if you're really studious. If you want to learn the microbiology of cheese, Google it. If you want to learn astrophysics, Google it. Anything. The information is in your hands. Go, like, make use of it. And make use of social media. In today's age, it is free marketing. Instagram especially has more than Facebook these days. Instagram has a huge following. Use the right tags. When I post, I use the right tags, like cheese, artisan cheese, Himalayas, mountains, Ladakh cheese farm, experiential teaching, cheese workshops. Make sure that your audience is large. Even if you're getting like 2 or 3 clicks on your post, that's enough. Slowly and steadily you are visible. Oh my God, this is getting too hectic. Oh my God, tomorrow, how will I deal with tomorrow? No. So anything that costs you your peace is too expensive. So plan your life, plan your business in a way that is joyful to you, because that has a huge impact on how you implement your business. So I'll conclude my whatever I had to say. I hope I was able to give some sort of an information to you. I'm sorry, this is the first time I'm doing this, so I might be a little here and there. I'm open to questions if anyone has. I'm just looking at the chat questions, so let me. Okay. The first question from Dr. Rekha is, when and what were the anxious moments you came across while moving ahead in your journey as an entrepreneur? The first thing was the uncertainty of it. It's always hard, but I have this belief that what I'm trying to do does not exist in Ladakh. And my initial idea was not to set, oh, this much I have to earn. My initial, even now, that is not my goal, that I have to meet this much earnings. My idea is to create a product in a place and an experience in a place that people cherish. And the better I do that, the money will flow in. And the quality of my product should not should not be impacted by any other means. One of the most stressful moments I had was the first 2017 when we made the cheese, and we stored it in 2 refrigerators in our pilot project. One of the refrigerators burnt out. Something happened with the motherboard or something like that, and we didn't realize that for a day. And the cheese had gone down to about 18 degrees centigrade, 20 degrees centigrade. So part of the cheese had become slimy, and a few of them had gone rancid. And cheese is a very delicate. It needs constant supervision. It needs care. It's like a baby, you nurture it. And then the doubt started, creeping in. Oh my God, this is such a unreliable place. The power is unreliable. How will I be able to run this business? The initial doubts were, double, but I have good friends around me. Your friend circle is very important. Your family is very important. Family does not just mean blood relatives, but friends as well. And they were like, it happens, you talk it out, you calm yourself, and then you take the next step. There are always going to be hurdles in anything. You just need to be headstrong to deal with it. Sometimes you're not, but you'll learn as it goes. The next question is, as there are many big players in dairy industry, is it practical to enter it in a small player? Can small businesses in dairy sustain competition with the big players these days? So this is, in terms of cheese and where I am, I knew that there was no big player there because everything comes from outside in Ladakh. So in a way, that wasn't one of the things that bothered me, that I'll have competition from a bigger player. The rest of the factors bothered me. But when looking at this, I don't remember the exact name, but in Delhi, there is a milk supplier who supplies milk, chills the milk, does not pasteurize the milk, and bottles them in glass bottles and sells it at, I think, 70 or 80 rupees a liter. He's a small scale, farmer, and he has taken loans and used government subsidies to set up his business. And he's able to earn good money. His unique selling point is that we source the milk ethically. We can tell you where the milk is coming from. You're not creating waste. You're being environmentally conscious. We collect the bottles back. We recycle the bottles. So we supply, it's like a old school milkman that used to come home. So there is that connection to the rural areas. You're not just going to a store and buying a milk packet and not realizing what milk, where it came from. His business model was that. And then he started to use technology. He integrated an app and he gets orders from the app and he delivers them. And it's a wholesome experience. So it works. Again, you are a small player, but you need to find ways to stand out. You need to find your unique selling points. That is the only way you'll survive in a competitive market elsewhere. And you need to be able to adapt really quickly in case something goes wrong. So that is something. The next question is, sorry, please. What made you to move on? I guess you're asking me what made me move to Ladakh. If that is the question, then I first came to Ladakh in 2013, and I volunteered at Setmol, which is a school, alternative school set up by Mr. Sonam, who's been in the news of late. I was there for 6 months. I learned everything from organic farming to solar passive design to earth buildings, interacting with so many volunteers that come across the world. Then I came back home, as in to my parents' place, and I wanted to set up a cheese making / a dairy farm and an organic farm here. But I just couldn't, the peace that I got in Ladakh, I just couldn't get that here. So I realized, I didn't feel at home here like I did in Ladakh. So I moved to Ladakh, and I worked in Setmol for 2-3 more years, learning various things. In between, this is when I learned about cheese. This is when I learned about milk, and then I went on to get trained, and then I set up my small pilot project, and so on. So that is my story. Ladakh is home. My first idea was live in Ladakh and then do something, and then cheese was something that I chose to do. And how you start milk procurement? Please give us some tips and tell us problems that you face initially. What is your pricing policy? Which milk you procure, like cow's milk or other milk? So mostly we procure cow's milk, and these are all A2 cows. We don't procure from hybrid breeds because they are non-existent in Ladakh. Only the local breeds survive in that climate. So it's a good thing. They give very little milk, but the milk is rich. How we procure milk? So initially we went house to house in the 20-kilometer radius to the villages and collected milk, but we realized that was a little too much for us. So we contacted someone who did that for us. The army also used to procure milk that time, and people would prefer giving it to the army because they knew that old system. They didn't want to trust someone who they would come on daily or not. And the army was giving 32 rupees per liter. Milk is slightly expensive in Ladakh. So what we did was we calculated and thought, okay, we can afford to give them 35 rupees a liter. If they guarantee us milk quality, we can afford to give them 35 rupees a liter. So there was a 3 rupee incentive, which was not a lot for them and not a lot for us either. Because if you look at it, that is 3 rupees a liter. So 30 rupees for 10 liters. So in 10 liters, I get 1 kg, 1 to 1.2 kgs of cheese. So I'm only increasing my cost of cheese by 30 rupees a kg, right? And that I can cover. So we made a conscious decision, okay, let's do this. Because in a way that bought the goodwill of the society around us, the villages around us, and we could connect with them on a daily basis. Mostly cow milk. There are times where we contact shepherds who graze sheep, and they give us a bit of sheep milk, but this is probably once every 6 weeks or 7 weeks. We get like 20-30 liters, and we make soft cheeses and we sell it to in our own circle, friend circle, because these are limited quantities. These go for good amounts because these are niche products you don't get anywhere else. Next year onwards, we are planning to set up a small makeshift space in the mountains and make yak cheese there with yak milk. Go there, make yak cheese in the morning, and then come down to our farm and bring the cheese here to age the cheese. So that is something that we are planning on doing.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Meka.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this is Dr. Nitika.
Yes, doctor.
And yeah, actually, Mr. Meka, it's really a privilege to have you as a speaker today. And our students are really anxious to ask you a lot of questions. And there are a lot of questions in the chat box itself. So I'll just briefly I'll ask their questions in brief. So
Sure.
I think some of the students, they want to know whether whether you are using some kind of standardization processes, and how are you maintaining the quality of milk. So in briefly, can you explain that?
Okay, so Ladakh, the community in Ladakh is very trusting. So when I went to each household, I told them I need pure milk. They gave me pure milk. It was as simple as that. When the milk comes to me, I have a small milk analyzer, and every day it's constant. As the seasons change, the milk changes, but it was constant over a period of time. Standardization, as in I slow pasteurize my milk. I heat it at 60 degrees for 40 minutes. So the protein structures are intact. Yes. And after that, all my cheese making cultures are either from Chris Hansen, Sumit ji that spoke to you yesterday, or from other culture providers. So they're reliable sources. And I have an FSSAI certification, and I get quality checks. So, and I'm very particular about, cleanliness, and I'm very, very particular about it.
That is really very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Meka, I wanted to know one thing. What are you doing with your whey?
So far with our whey, there is a local Live to Rescue Foundation that is 2 kilometers from us. They take stray animals that have been injured, cows, donkeys, and stuff. We fill up the whey in milk buckets and go and give it to them, and they feed the dogs, and the dogs love it. The donkeys love it. The cows not so much, understandably. They eat it, but the fitness industry is growing in Ladakh. So I have been researching about hydrolyzing whey. So hopefully when we are able to afford to buy certain equipment, we'll probably make locally sourced whey protein to sell in the local markets, and also make whey protein drinks. So these are all things that are in plan. So.
Okay. Mr. Meka, actually, it is very, very interesting to talk to you today, because we get very less farmers who talk so enthusiastically, about cheeses. And in Punjab, this cheese as a small startup and is, taking up. So I'll be really very happy if we can get in touch with you in future also, if we have a lot of queries. And so I just want to ask you one question. That will be my last question, and last question of this session particularly. That now, suppose if you are suggesting now, because you have been through a lot, I understand that. And suppose if a farmer wants to set up a unit for cheese making, like 200 to 500 liters, what is your idea that he should be ready with? How much investment? What should be the working capital, and how much profit margin right now you're making with the cheese? Because these are some of the questions we face when small entrepreneurs, especially who wants to join cheese as a startup. So can you just shed some light on this?
So let me take 200 liters as a base model. So for 200 liters, to process 200 liters of milk to make like 20 to 22 kgs of cheese a day, I'm not taking buildings or anything into consideration. I'm only taking equipment and
Okay, yeah, fine. land and construction, you can
Yeah.
write out.
So cheese vats about 1.2.
Roughly, you can
Yeah.
tell. It's not a problem. Otherwise, we can discuss with you later also. That is not a big issue.
On a rough basis, they can do it if they're very thrifty and if they can pasteurize slowly on their own and not use pasteurizing machines and stuff like that. They can
Yes,
they can
we
easily
are
do
asking
it.
about that only.
Okay, so they can easily do it in 7 to 10 lakhs with because the equipment is also not that expensive. A cheese vat with 500-liter capacity you can get for 1.2 lakhs SS304. So
Yeah, correct.
so the more mechanized you become, the more higher
So,
your.
have you ever calculated how much margin?
So I make sure that I keep a margin of about 30% on any cheese I make. The higher the cheese is aged, the more my margin is because it needs more aging process. And I think someone asked me, I'm sorry, I forget, whether we work in the winter. So that is one more thing. Our margins are higher in Ladakh because in the winters we don't work. So for 4 months, our entire plant is shut because there is no milk in the winters. There is no milk procurement in the winters. So we work only 8 months a year. So we need to earn for 12 months in that 8 months. Right. So our margins are higher. But thankfully, because it's a tourist destination, prices are higher and we are able to manage it.
Correct.
So,
yeah. So you have a location advantage also.
Yeah. Yes, I have a location advantage. Yes.
Mr. Meka, your business model is just for restaurants and all. You're not selling the product directly to consumers. Is that so?
So until last year, we were only a B2B model. But since COVID, we have realized that we need to be more flexible. So next year onwards, we are packaging our cheese and selling it in storefronts and also like we're talking to other retailers across India, a few of the gourmet shops to sell our cheese there.
Okay. So what is your idea? Where profit margins are more, fresh cheeses or ripened cheeses?
Ripened cheeses.
Yeah. Okay.
But
yeah. So
actually, it's equally because mozzarella is in great demand. But mozzarella is easily available by Amul and other, large-scale manufacturers. So people won't buy artisan mozzarella, which will cost more. But cheeses like Parmesan or Cheddar or Gouda, not many places you get them. So people will be willing to buy those because there's very little availability in the market. So I would definitely say ripened cheeses.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much, Mr. Meka.
Yeah.
So I will. It was really very, very informative because it was a first-hand, information, and the first time we had with any cheese entrepreneur.
Okay.
So now I request Mr. Venus to take over the session and continue further. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Meka, once again. From all the participants also, I think students have loved your lecture because at a beginning, if you want to enterprise, what are the challenges and how you have to think if you want to start enterprise. That is important. I think you have shared a very valuable inputs for the students if they want to start enterprise. Thank you for that. Thank you for giving your time. I think you are quite busy.
No, that's all right. I'm glad that that people were able to enjoy. Like I said, this is the first time I'm doing anything like this, so I'm actually pleasantly surprised that the students can learn something out of the mistakes I've made or the experiences I've had. So yeah, thanks a lot for having me, and I hope your sessions go well.
Thank you.
And,
Sunilji, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Keep in touch with us.
Definitely, sir.
Okay.
Definitely.
So now, I think we can start the next lecture.